What's up YouTube and welcome to today's video. Today is an editing session. In my last video, a number of you commented and asked for this particular video. So here it is. I'm going to show you exactly how I took this image from where it is right now to this other image. We're going to be using Capture One and Photoshop, but mostly Photoshop. But for now, let's jump straight into Capture One. Alright, so here we go, and this is exactly how this image was shot. I shot it like this, and I shot it with a 14 to 24 lens. We did that because we wanted to play around with distortion, make sure that the fabric here looks bigger than it is, just to create like an illusion of a lot of space and create depth in the image. Alright, so quickly I'll just go around and I'll increase brightness a little bit for the image. I also wanted to have a bit more punch for the red, so I'm going to go to my color tab here. On advanced here, I'm going to click the speaker tool and select the red here, and just change the saturation a bit and drop the lightness a bit. So that's going to give it some more punch. And if you press Y, you can see what before and after looks like. It's pretty straightforward. So the next thing I want to do is to crop the image. So to crop that, press C, right click and go to 4:5, and then we can come all the way down here, and I think this is a good crop. Alright, so this looks good. Remember, we're trying to take it from here to something like this. Okay, so let's go back here, and then we're going to go straight to Photoshop. So to go to Photoshop, right click and say edit with Adobe Photoshop edit variants, just like that. Okay, so now we are in Photoshop, and the first thing you want to do is you want to fill up all of these areas here on the right and on the left that are showing more of the environment. We could not avoid this because we're shooting with a really wide lens. So to get rid of all of those areas, what you want to do is use some generative fill, which is pretty fast and easy to do. So I'm going to press M for my marquee tool, and I'm just going to select this area here. I'm also going to select some of the darker areas here because I really wanted to not take into reference these dark areas when trying to fill. Alright, so let's click generative fill and press OK. Alright, while that is doing its thing, please guys, if you are new here, make sure you subscribe. We're planning to make this channel a very good resource to photographers for editing, behind the scenes, and everything basically creative wise. We'll also be doing a lot of product reviews coming up, so please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment if you learned something or if you enjoyed the video, and share the video as well, please. Thank you so much. All right, that's done, and it looks pretty good. Not bad. One thing you need to take in note with generative fill, however, is that the resolution is not always as good as the original image, but in things like backdrop like this, it is acceptable. I'm also going to do the same thing for this area here. Alright, the reason I'm doing this in patches is because when you do this in patches like this, sometimes it helps with the resolution. It's not as bad as if I do everything once, but you know what, let's just do the rest of it one time. So generative fill, I'm going to put a full stop here and press enter. You could do it without putting the dot as well, it works, but sometimes it comes back with some kind of error, at least when it first started in a beta version. I haven't really tried it, but sometimes I just don't want to risk waiting 1 to 2 minutes only for it to bring an error, so I always put a dot. I honestly don't know if it works or if it doesn't work, but I mean, we get results, so that's all that matters. All right, wow, that was fast, and then we are done. So you can see what remember that it gives you 3 options. Okay, so there's option 1, option 2, and option 3. Here I'm going to go with option 2. I like the way it looks here. Okay, so I'm going to show you before and after, and just like that we have filled up the layers. So I'm going to also try to fix these areas here, so you can still see the outline of the backdrop here and the outline of my stand here. So to fix that, I'll use my regular lasso tool to make a rough selection, and also make a rough selection of this area here, and then just click generative fill again, and let's wait for a couple of seconds and see how fast it takes this time. I think that the speed of this happens to work with your internet as well. If your internet is pretty fast, then it will be a bit faster for you. but I think that at least most times you have to wait maybe 20 to 30 seconds. I don't think it's faster than that, but I think it's worth it really. What do you guys think about generator fill? Let me know in the comment section below. And it's done. I also think that there are some places where absolutely content aware will be better because that's speedily fast. So just try and pick and choose when you use generative fill so that you can save the most time. Okay, so we have this. I'm going to pick 2, and just like that, I'm going to flatten my image. Right. So the next thing I want to do is just do a bit of cleanup on the background. There's some texture. This is a shoe mark here. I'm just going to make sure that I fix all of that, and I'm fixing this with my lasso tool, which is a pretty good and intelligent tool for you to use. As long as you can completely circle out what you want to remove, it does a very, very good job of blending the area that you have selected. Okay. All right. Now, what we have is that I have a really, really dark patch on this left side of the image. So to fix that, all right. So what I'm going to do is click and select your rectangular marquee tool, and then just select a general area like this and press Command J. So what that does, it copies that area to a new layer, as you can see here in layer 2. I'm going to press V for my move tool so I can move it elsewhere. So I'm going to move it to this darker edge here and press Command T to transform. So transform and then hold Shift and then just drag the edge. So drag it like that. Don't worry if it is touching the fabric or your subject, it's still fine for now. And press select. So we have that. And the next thing you want to do is create a layer mask. So a layer mask is something that enables you to hide certain parts of a layer or hide the entire layer or even show certain parts of a layer. So to do that, you want to create a black mask. A black mask hides everything, right? So to create a black mask, just click on Option and create mask. And then we have that. Now, to reveal part of this mask, you want to press your B for brush. And let's just take our flow down to 20 and our opacity down as well to like 30 something, 30. And then make sure you have a white brush. Right now we have a black brush, so we'll press X to swap. Make sure you've selected the layer mask and then just gradually paint in that area. So what that does is it just gently reveals the layer that is beneath it, which is a bit brighter. So you can see before and after, like that. Okay. So this is what we had before, this is what we have after. We can do the same thing for these areas here. So let me just press Command J to copy the whole thing, but this time around we'll delete this layer mask and we will move it to this side now. You know what, I'm just going to make it bigger by pressing Command C and doing that. Alright, so it's bigger now. I will create a black mask. Now to avoid brushing into the flowers here and the fabric here, you come down to your selection here and say select subject. Okay, it didn't select everything, but let's just help it and add to that selection. So since we have that, we want to invert our subject selection. So you do that by clicking Shift Command I. Right, so once you have that, we can then come back to the layer mask and brush. So when you brush now or you reveal now, it's not supposed to allow you brush into areas that are not part of the selection. So as we reveal this, you see that it doesn't show up in the flowers or in the fabric. I'm not going to overdo this one, just press Command D, and so this was before and after. So we have before and after of the entire thing. I'm going to flatten it again by Shift Option Command E, and I'll just do a bit more patch tooling to blend it a bit more across, but I think we're good. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is what we've been waiting for, and that's how to add the texture to the image. Now, to get the texture, I got them from a website called unsplash.com. So just click unsplash.com, as you can see here, and press enter, and then search for any kind of texture that you want to add really. But for this image, I went with Renaissance. I just searched Renaissance, and these are the images that popped up right here. So you look for one that you like, preferably one that has like a painterly feel. Those always look good on your backdrop. And click download. So the images here are free to use, and you can use them for your images without any fear of copyrights or anything like that. So we're going to go back to Photoshop, and we're going to bring that image in. So let's go to our downloads. This is the image right here, and we're just going to bring it down. So, and press OK for now. Now, one thing we want to notice with the image in Capture One is that if you look at it, you see that there are two things going on. There's a texture added to the backdrop on the back, and the backdrop on the floor seems to also follow the perspective of the way the floor is, right? So the backdrop is straight, but the floor is tilted. So we're going to do that in two different phases. So okay, so let's go back to Capture Photoshop rather. So back in Photoshop, we have our image here, and let's just turn off that layer for now and copy our background layer, Command J. Now what you want to do is select your backdrop. To do that, let's say select subject first. So you select the subject, and then you make sure that your selection is tidy and perfect. Let's cancel. By the way, I'm using the quick selection tool W. W plus Shift is to add to a selection. W plus Alt or Option is to subtract from a selection. Right, so right now I am adding to it, making sure that my subject's legs are selected. Don't worry if it's not completely perfect now. Just try your best to get it to be as perfect as possible. We're going to be using the layer mask technique, so it means that you can even change it afterwards, or you can adjust it afterwards. All right, so we have a rough selection of our subjects. Let's just add these flowers here. Don't worry if it's not perfect, like I said earlier. So we have this. So since we have our subject selected and we want to have our background selected, you can press Shift Command I to invert your selection. So we'll do Shift Command I, and that inverts your selection. Now, we only want to deal with the background here and at the bottom here. We don't want to deal with the floor. So all you need to do is subtract all of this floor here. So we'll press M for our marquee tool, press Option, and then just drag this and make sure we subtract too. Good. So just like that, we have a perfect selection of just the background at the top alone. The next thing you want to do is turn your selection into a layer mask. So we'll do that by clicking layer mask, and then boom. So you see what we have here is just a selection of the background alone. Now the next thing is to turn on your texture layer, and you can reduce opacity so you can view it properly, and then just gently place it the way you want it. So I think that looks good. Or let's take it a bit higher. All right, that looks good. All right. So now what you want to do is copy this mask, just drag it and drop it here. Just simple as that. Once you've done that, you can then change the blend mode of the mask, because right now it's there, but it still looks really fake. So change the blend mode to overlay. When you do that, then you see it now looks like it's blended with the backdrop, right? So we reduce opacity. Now, one thing you'll notice is that it looks really red, and I don't really like that. So it's red because it's blending with the backdrop, and the backdrop is red. So what you want to do is desaturate the backdrop. So you can do that by creating a hue saturation layer, right? But don't keep it underneath the texture layer, right? Because if you keep it on top, then it will desaturate the whole thing. And then since we have a mask here that shows just the backdrop, you can copy that mask by holding Option, clicking it, and dragging it to say replace layer mask and say yes. So right now we have a layer mask on our hue saturation layer as well, and then we can just desaturate. So as we desaturate, we can change the hue if we want to. I like this little greenish hue here, and then we can increase lightness if we want to as well. All right, so we've gone from here to here. So just like that, we've done that. All right, so the next thing we want to do is do the floor as well. So just like we did before, we need to select just the floor again. I think that we have a selection that is just the floor already here, or okay, no, we don't have a selection of just the floor. We need to make that. So we are going to create a new selection and try and select just the floor. Okay. Right now, it's selecting our leg width. Just make a rough selection. Okay. So right now I'm just trying to deselect her legs. Alright, so we have a rough selection of just the floor, and we'll convert that to a layer mask as well. So we have that layer mask just sitting there. Now the next thing we want to do is bring the image back in again. That's our texture image. Let's just bring it back in. Right, so it was I don't know, we don't necessarily need to line it up, but we have it like this. So right click on it and say perspective. So you can grab the top and just push it to the left like this, and what that does, it changes the perspective of the image. So press Command T, and I'm just going to reduce the size a little bit like this. Let's reduce it a lot more and change the perspective again. Just drag it like this. Okay, Command C. Let's just make it bigger. Oops, not there. Alright, so we have to put it somewhere where it fits perfectly. Alright, I'm going to drag it like that and like this. Alright, so I like it here. So it's good here. We'll press OK. And since we have it here, just like we did before, you want to copy your layer mask and put here. So once you do that, you have it and you see that it has the same perspective as the floor. And then you can change the blend mode to overlay, reduce the opacity if you want to, like that. We can also create a hue saturation layer for it if we want to make it brighter or do anything to it, but I think it's fine. But you know what, let's change it. Let's create a hue saturation layer for it. Now once you create this hue saturation layer, you can do one of two things. You can either copy this mask, copy it to the saturation mask so that whatever you do only affects this area here, or you can create something called a clipping mask. So a clipping mask, you create by holding Option and clicking here, so that everything I do on this hue saturation layer only affects this layer here. So let's just desaturate like that. We can lighten a bit if we want to. You can change the hue a bit if we want to. Alright, and just like that, we've gone from here to here. Alright, so we're going to Shift Command E, so flatten everything, and press Command S to save. And that brings us back to Capture One. So this is the new image we just created right here. Alright, so to put up final touches, I just maybe warmed it up a bit and put some greens. Warm it up a bit more, so that goes on before and after. You can also, I think I also added some, if you go to built-in presets, I added some greens just to give it a bit more of a artistic feel. So yeah, so we did that. And you can also play around with styles and presets. By the way, I have some custom styles and presets that are available for sale, so you can try any of these ones here. I'll put a link in the description below if you are interested in one of them to see if you could buy them. And yep, I think I'll just use film to apply it to a new layer, and I can play around a bit with my image. So we've gone from here to here, and yep, that's exactly how we were able to create this image. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll try my best to answer them. Please let me know if this video has been helpful to you. Make sure you also like and subscribe. We're planning to bring a video to you every week from now to the end of the year. That's a lot of videos, and I hope we can achieve it. But the idea is to build a community around here on this YouTube channel. So thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.